Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome to this session on DOMESCO case. This session will include the analysis and solution of the case. We will discuss this in the form of business cases that are discussed in the management consulting world by looking at different consequences and the aspects as we move along. First things first, here we look at the profit, sales, and cost. For any case study that you begin, you first have to identify this equation and find out about its sales and cost and profit, whether they are increasing, decreasing, or there's any other change. So there are lots of combinations listed down here. And for our case, it comes to the fourth combination, where we know that as the case has discussed, that sales are increasing, costs are also increasing, whereas the company is going into loss. Drilling down further, under cost drivers, we have variable cost that includes labor cost and transportation cost. Labor cost is rising because of incentives, idle time, accidents, wastage, and poor inventory. Transportation cost is also rising because of poor information sharing, poor inventory count and inventory management, and poor product availability. By looking at the product life cycle, these washing machines and tumble dryers are in the maturity stage. By going to this online resource given in the reference, Statista, it gives us the percentage of households with washing machines in the United Kingdom from 1970 to 2018. So you can see for yourself here that the curve is almost flattened here over all these years. So the market is pretty saturated. Other issues discussed in the case: a strongly unionized environment where the management has virtually given up the control and it's all in the hands of the employees. Production estimates are not in line with current market demand due to poor coordination of the central warehouse in the UK with both the factory and warehouses in EU countries. So the main issue lies with the warehouse and the lack of coordination on its part by sharing information in terms of available inventory level, so that production can be coordinated as well as orders can be easily planned as well. And on the front of retailers, they can satisfy the needs of the customers by sharing that information with the warehouse. But the warehouse, that is the central warehouse based in the UK, is not quite receptive and not sharing that much information. So there is virtually lack of exchange of information between the warehouse and the retail outlets, and between the warehouse and the production factory based in Glasgow. The third one is there may be or maybe not product availability issues in the UK market, as the case is silent on this aspect. Looking at the analysis, we have identified different issues here, and they have been laid out in the cause and effect fashion. Strongly unionized environment leading to no accountability, poor inventory information. It leads to no quality checks and maintenance. That further leads to accidents and injuries and time loss, clutter and clumsiness, and that further leads to not properly aligned incentives, minimal inventory levels, lack of motivation, and then further leads to poor production planning, increased labor cost and inventory shortages, and that further leads to increased transportation costs, poor order fulfillment, and that further leads to wrong product types delivery, which actually gives rise to customer complaints, and that, in a nutshell, results in a rising loss despite increased sales. So look at the bottom here. We have divided them up into three different sections: the warehousing section, the production section, and distribution section. So this continuum covers the whole aspect, laying down all the issues, problems that are interrelated and their resulting effect. That really helped us with our analysis. Some of the key decision areas which are involved in here include managing quality, location strategy, layout strategy, job design, where you have to make your jobs meaningful by training your employees, the inventory guys who are there to how to better manage inventory efficiently and count it efficiently as well. Supply chain management, inventory planning and management, and maintenance. And the supply chain planning is the coordination between the distributor network all across the European Union, and coordination with the factory as well. There, again, we have discussed this before, the 4 Bs, where we have to motivate employees about their work, their responsibility, their reason for being there by selling them on vision, breaking their mission down into different milestones, and they will be rewarded for achieving each of those milestones, and then bringing their commitment by incentivizing that incentive plan in a correct manner, and then creating a strategy where they can help the company achieve its objective, that the timely availability of goods and meeting the customer order fulfillment in a shortest possible time and without much complaints, and the accurate delivery and the accurate order fulfillment as well. CANDOS model here applies in terms of improving the layout design, doing the housekeeping properly at the warehouse floor, and so on and so forth, clearing up to sort or clear out, arrangement to straighten or configure the processes, neatness to shine or clean and check, discipline to standardize or conform according to the organization's policies, so that safety measures can be taken, and ongoing improvement to sustain or custom and practice, making it as a part of an organizational culture to reward those employees who work out of the way, going out of the line to meet the demand or any expected rise that really occurs in the demand pattern across different countries, and handling customer queries, responses, responding to them on time, and so on. And safety and security measures to ensure that the time is not lost, the cost is not incurred further on that. Plus, the quality checks are there to ensure that the organization is following best production as well as safety practices all along. And everywhere they perform. And this is sort of gives you an idea where things were before 5S were implemented, and where things are now after the implementation of 5S. And you could see the stark difference in terms of the neatness, cleanness, and the organization of things placed on the floor. Now here we would propose the distribution process. This is the existing distribution process across UK as well as EU market. And here we are suggesting that we should start with a temporary warehouse. Instead of the temporary warehouse, we start with the central warehouse. Correct me here. And then here we suggest to have a centralized procurement processing center based in Netherlands and connected to all different transit warehouses across the European Union, and where we have France, Spain, Germany, Italy, Belgium, and the Netherlands. And this is the network of sharing of information from transit warehouses through centralized procurement processes, through central warehouse in Rotterdam and the central warehouse in Scotland, and the DOMESCO factory based in Glasgow. And then over here, we have the outlets here that are being served. So in a way, there's a sharing of information and updating that information. And with that information in place, we can come up with right quantity of orders and delivery accordingly. Demand management is one challenge that this company has to make. In order to understand demand management, we have to look at understanding demand for each product to support three business functions. That includes financial commitments, production and capacity decisions, and inventory replenishment. And the second last point here is isolate the cause of variability. This is really important. Why? Because we have to look at each of those issues in isolation so that we can understand their relationship with one another. For example, the product level forecast may be highly variable. Breaking out the data to ship to level may indicate the variability is limited to a few customers. Otherwise, we would probably look at this biggest change in the demand variation once we break them down to the origin of the from where the orders are coming from. That will come to know that there are few customers who are placing a large size orders, large volume of orders, and as a result, this 20/80 rule is quite much applicable here. With this, we could identify that it's not a much bigger variable. It's just the little small number of customers that are placing orders, and we could strategize and streamline our efforts, laser focused on meeting those customer requirements. And then what influences demand? We need to understand that how demand between parts is related through this understanding at the macro level of socioeconomic factors by applying the pastel analysis, doing segmentation in terms of low high volume and low high variability. Major decisions under review by the company, whether should we move to Poland with major manufacturing activities, whether should we keep electronics and final assembly back in Glasgow. So here we see that the problem is not with the production or the manufacturing, rather it's with the warehouse. So the organization need to sit down with the union leaders and work out the best way in the best interest of both the company as well as the distribution as well as the distribution centers, so that they all work in sync with one another in the best interest of the company. And the pending decision was having company's own transport fleet. Again, this is something that is not quite recommended right now, that we should have our own fleet. Rather, we should streamline the processes, especially the information network, so that the existing resources are quite meaningfully and to the best advantage of the company are utilized. Thank you very much.